What's up, guys? Just here back to my channel. Tonight we'll be reviewing for Friday Smackdown, so let's get to it then. Alright, so I have a segment coming up with CM Punk. Alright, CM Punk makes his way down to the ring. Punk starts by giving the Chicago crowd pops and then grabs the camera from the guy, Rico, and starts filming the crowd. Punk says he's not supposed to be here and says when he was being birthed, he came out with his umbilical cord around his neck and he was blue. Punk then brings up that he is in the main event of WrestleMania. He says he doesn't deserve this, but he earned it. And he says all his life he's been told you're not supposed to be here, and that's where his hard work began. He says now the hard work begins, and he's a product of Chicago. He first thanks his wife, April, and the crowd starts chanting, AJ Lee, and then thanks his puppy, Larry. He says he wouldn't be where he is without Chicago, and thanks to Chicago again, and promises to whip Seth Rollins' ass, and promises to give Roman Reigns a beating at WrestleMania. Paul Heyman makes his way out to the ring and apologizes for being late and calls CM Punk his best friend in the world. Heyman tells Punk that he belongs here in this ring and in the main event of WrestleMania. Heyman talks about how the new bloodline attacked him and then brings up beating CM Punk took at the hands of Drew McIntyre and how Punk was considering not coming back. Heyman talks about how he pleaded with Punk to side with the bloodline and Punk agreed and tells Punk how he saved the family. Heyman tells Punk he has one more favor to ask of Punk. He asks Punk about the favor he owes him. He tells Punk that Reigns is not here right now, but that he's really upset. Punk says the favor is none of Reigns' business, but it will affect him, and he like to tell Reigns face to face, and that's when Heyman will know. To Punk drops the mic and leaves Heyman standing in the ring. All right, we go ahead. The first match coming up, so let's get to it then. All right, Nathan Frazer versus Ray Phoenix. Yep, Ray Phoenix's debut here. So here we go. All right, first match. The men lock up at the bell. Frazer goes for Phoenix's arm, and they trade hold until it's broken up. Frazer flies around the ring, and Phoenix kicks him in the face, and we get a series of roll-ups. Phoenix hits a hurricanrana on Frazer and chops him in the corner. Phoenix is sent outside the ring, and Frazer suicide dives onto Phoenix. I'm sorry, Phoenix. Phoenix hits a corkscrew splash on Frazer and get commercial break. Back from commercial break, Frazer has Phoenix in a headlock in the middle of the ring, and Phoenix punches his way out of it, but is then shoulder checked in the corner several times. Frazer sits Phoenix on the top rope, and Phoenix punches Frazer. Frazer climbs up again and gets pushed down, and he backflips down and climbs the ropes and hits a superplex and hits a spinning neckbreaker and curves for two. Frazer misses a Phoenix splash, and Phoenix kicks him and hits his amigo kick, and then hits a fire driver and covers for a near fall. Frazer kicks Phoenix down and walks into a super kick by Phoenix. Phoenix puts Frazer on the top rope and hits a Mexican muscle buster for the win. So winner is Ray Phoenix. After the match, Brian Saxon interviews Phoenix. Phoenix says today isn't his debut, but his rebirth. He says he's waited his whole life to say this, and says, "I am WWE Nemo." Alright, so I hope I said that right. Leo Del Fantasma is backstage watching and Santos Escobar tells Berto and Angel that this is what he wants from them. Berto tells Escobar he's better than Phoenix. Escobar says he wants Berto to show him and is going to ask Nick Aldis for a match pitting Berto against Ray Phoenix. Alright, give VIP package for Drew McIntyre, alright, and stuff. So, Brian Saxon talks to Braun Strowman backstage. Strowman says he's sick of Jacob Fatu being in his business and he'll end that today. So Sikoa and Tama Tonga come up to Strowman and tell him he's finished. LA Knight comes by and tells Strowman to keep his eyes on the prize and not worry about Sikoa. Tonga tells Knight to worry about him. Yeah. All right. It was funny. All right. Brian Saxon talks to Braun Strowman. No, it's the same thing. The person wrote it twice. Alright, second match coming up. LA Knight versus Tama Tonga with Solo Sikoa. Alright, second match. We get the bell, and Knight starts with punches on Tonga. Knight takes down Tonga with an elbow, and Tonga drops kicks. Knight fires back with a suplex on Tonga, and Tonga and Tonga throws Knight into the turnbuckle. Tonga hits Knight with a bat breaker, bat with a bat body drop and covers for 2 count. Knight hits Tonga with a big boot, slams it into all 4 turnbuckles and starts to deliver boots to Tonga, followed by a hip check. I'm sorry. Tonga rolls out of the ring, and Knight slams his head into the announce desk and throws Tonga back in the ring. Sikoa distracts Knight, allowing Tonga to hit Knight off the apron, sending him crashing into announce desk, and we get a commercial break. Alright, we're back from break, and Tonga has Knight in the headlock. In the middle of the ring, Knight punches out of the hold and takes down Tonga with a shoulder check, and Sunset flips into a 2 count pin attempt. Tonga takes down Knight and suplexes him and covers Knight for a 2 count. Tonga punches Knight and climbs the turnbuckle and tries for an elbow on Knight. But Knight rolls out of the way. Knight comes back with punches on Tonga. It clotheslines him down. Knight connects with a neck breaker and power slam on Tonga. Knight drops an elbow on Tonga and goes for a BOT, but Sikoa distracts Knight. Tonga rolls him up for a near fall, and Knight hits the BFT and gets the win. So winner is LA Knight. Paul Heyman waits for Roman Reigns, and Brian Saxton approaches him and asks Heyman if Punk has given him any clues. Heyman says no, but tells everyone regardless of the favor, the answer is yes. A car pulls up and Seth Rollins comes out instead of Roman Reigns. Rollins tells Heyman that he looks like he's had a horrible week and tells Heyman he's had a great week, and he tells Heyman he's formulated a plan and says this favor Punk is owned but Heyman in a hold. Rollins says he wants to present when they find out what this favor is. Okay. Alright, we have a segment coming up with Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton, which is a face-to-face thing. Alright, Charlotte Flair makes her way down to the ring first, followed by Tiffany Stratton. Wade Barrett will be officially this in-ring interview with them women. Barrett says he's here to moderate due to how heated all their past encounters have been. Where am I at? Encounters have been, okay, I lost myself for a second. Have been, and introduces Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. Flair is booed when she says this is power. Damn, I lost myself again. Shit. This is power, and Stratton asks what time is it? And the crowd responds with Tiffy time. Flair is asked if she still feels Stratton is the best opponent for her. Flair says she made the right choice because she wants to show the world there is no comparison. Stratton tells Flair her biggest opponent is the fans, and that's a battle she won't win. Stratton tells Flair she'll always come second to her dad, Ric Flair, and come WrestleMania she'll come second to Stratton. Flair is getting massive boos and is unable to get the rest of her promo in gets a promo in. Flair asks Chicago what they'd like her to say. Flair tells Stratton she can have the last words. Stratton tells Flair when Flair was 25 years old, she was sitting in her dad's basement wanting to be a pro volleyball player, and at 25 years old, Stratton is walking into WrestleMania as the women's champion. Flair makes fun of Stratton's voice, and Stratton calls Flair nipple baby. Stratton tells Flair that after WrestleMania she'll be the same as she is outside the ring alone, and then pokes fun of Flair's 3-nail marriage and leaves. Damn. and then when Stratton left, and it doesn't say it on here, when she was leaving, Charlotte Flair says, "Is that why Kaiser is in my DMs and stuff?" I was like, "Damn!" But it didn't last long, that part. But so I wish there was a backstory on that. So, anyways, Nick Aldis is backstage and makes an announcement that there will be a women's tag team gauntlet match to determine the challengers for Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez at WrestleMania. This gauntlet match will include tag teams from Raw and SmackDown. The Street Profits make their way out to the front row to watch the upcoming match. Not the women's match, their match. Alright, so WWE Tag Team Championship No One Contenders match. DIY and Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano versus Motor City Machine Guns, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin. This is the third match, just so you guys know. Sabin and Gargano start off the bout. They lock up and trade arm bar holds until Gargano is arm dragged a few times and Ciampa is tagged in. Shelley is tagged in and Ciampa is double teamed. Gargano tries help. To help, and they're both beaten up by Shelley and Sabin. Shelley punches Ciampa in the corner and then clotheslines him out of the ring. Shelley chases Ciampa around the ring, and Gargano is tagged in and hits a slingshot spear on Shelley and get a commercial break. Alright, back on Smackdown, Shelley takes out Ciampa and tags in Sabin, who splashes on both Ciampa and Gargano. Sabin kicks both DIY members and hits a tornado DT on Ciampa, and Sabin hits a suicide dive on DIY and back in the ring. Shelley and Sabin beat on Ciampa. Shelley covers Ciampa for a near fall. And Gargano trips up Sabin on the turnbuckles, and Sabin pulls off the turnbuckle pad as he falls down. Sabin rolls up Ciampa for a near fall, and Ciampa hits a power shit, where am I at? It hits a powerbomb slash backstabber move and curves for two. Gargano is tagged in, and they double teamed Sabin, and Shelley breaks the pin. Shelley is sent out of the ring, and Ciampa is tagged back in. Sabin and Shelley takes out Gargano and kick Ciampa in the face. Shelley is taken out, and Ciampa rolls up Sabin and uses the ropes, but the ref sees it. Ciampa is slammed into the exposed turnbuckle and covered for the win. So winners are Motor City Machine Guns. Alright, I have a backstage thing real quick. The Miz and Carmelo Hayes walk by Pretty Deadly and make fun of them for losing and call them jokes. Pretty Deadly tells the Miz a joke and rattle of marine tiles. They talk about the Miz having lots of partners and say he's now with a young model like Leonardo DiCaprio. They go back and forth, and the Miz tells Pretty Deadly that he and Hayes are awesome. Okay, then. Alright, fourth match coming up. This one doesn't last long. So this one's B-Fab versus Naomi. As Naomi is making her entrance, Jade Cargill attacks her before she can make it down to the ring. Officials break up the scrap, and Naomi gets in the ring. The bell rings, and B-Fab attacks Naomi and takes her down and clotheslines B-Fab, slams Naomi's head into a turnbuckle and kicks down Naomi, covers for a 2 count. B-Fab mounts Naomi and punches her out. B-Fab slams Naomi slams down Naomi and covers for a near fall. Sorry, guys. Naomi now gets in some punches and B-Fab, who was caught up on the ropes. Naomi hits a modified lung blower slash code breaker and pins B-Fab for the win. So winner is Naomi. After the match, Naomi gets on the mic and calls out Jade Cargill and says she's still standing. Cargill comes out of the crowd and kicks Naomi and goes to hit her with Jaded, but security runs down to break them up. Bring them up. Cargill attacks security, and Nick Aldis comes out and says Naomi will face Cargill at WrestleMania. That's been interesting. Alright, there was another video patch from Dean Priest talking about Drew McIntyre and stuff. Alright, we have a little segment with Nick Aldis and stuff and Kevin Owens. Nick Aldis is in the ring and says there is a fine line between wrestlers coming back and find out you'll never you'll never come back again. He then calls out Kevin Owens. Sunburned Owens makes his way down to the ring and gets a mic. Owens says he's been doing this for 25 years and he gave all he had every time he stepped foot in the ring. He says the last 25 years have made his dreams come true, but there's a price to pay, and that's the toll it takes on their bodies. He says for the last 4 months he's been dealing with a serious neck injury, and this week he found out he'll need neck surgery. He says thankful that he was able to come out and tell everyone, as he doesn't know when he'll be back, if at all. He says the last few years he's learned not to taking anything for granted, and he will never take this for granted. He thanks everyone and says he's sorry. As Owens is leaving Randy Orton comes out, they lock eyes and stare at each other as Orton makes his way into the ring. Owens leaves and Aldis is left in the ring with Orton. Aldis tells Orton that he won't be competing at WrestleMania. Orton RKO's Nick Aldis. Damn. Alright, we have one more match and then a little segment after this. All right, so here we go. Last man standing match. This is the fifth match. Last man standing match. WWE United States Championship No One Contenders match. Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman. Fatu runs out of the ring as Strowman is making his way to the ring, and the battle starts. Strowman and throws Fatu into the barricade and chops him back in the ring. Fatu super kicks Strowman and then clotheslines him. Fatu climbs the ropes, but Strowman pulls him down and tries to power slam him. Fatu super kicks Strowman and hits an elbow and then hits his jump moonsault and then moonsaults again onto Strowman. But Strowman is able to roll out of the ring and roll out of the ring at a 9 count, and we get commercial break. Back to SmackDown. Fatu super kicks Strowman and throws him back in the ring. Fatu connects with some headbutts and runs into a spinebuster by Strowman. Strowman pulls out a table and puts it in the ring and punches Fatu. Strowman sets up the table again. The turnbuckles. Strowman boots down Fatu, and Strowman is sent over the ropes outside the ring. Fatu flies through the ropes and spears Strowman, sending him crashing over the announce desk. Fatu sends Strowman into the ring post outside the ring and goes to spear Strowman through the barricades, but Strowman smokes him with a chair. Strowman runs around the ring and hits a Strowman Express on Fatu, sending them both through the barricades into the timekeeper's area, and we get another commercial break. We return to SmackDown, and the action has spilled out to the crowd. Strowman stalks Fatu with the chair and keeps clobbering him with the chair. Strowman pulls Fatu onto an equipment crate and suplexes Fatu through some tables. Strowman limps around the ring, and Fatu is having trouble getting on his feet. Both men get back in the ring, and Fatu hits a running hip attack on Strowman, sending Strowman through the table he had set up earlier. The ref counts to 10, and Fatu is able to get to his feet before the 10 count, winning the match. So winner is Jacob Fatu. All right, we have a segment coming up. All right, see me. Paul Heyman is backstage waiting for Roman Reigns. Brian Saxon asks him when Reigns will arrive, and Heyman tells him any man and continues to wait. After commercial break, Roman Reigns shows up and walks past Paul Heyman, ignoring him, and makes his way to the ring. As Heyman trails behind Reigns, heads straight to the ring and doesn't pose or anything. He gets in the ring and asks to be acknowledged. Reigns asks Heyman if he's here, and Heyman says he is. Reigns asks Heyman if Punk is still talking about this favor, and Heyman says he is. Reigns asks Heyman if he should share a secret with Chicago, and Heyman says yes. Reigns says CM Punk wouldn't be back in the WWE if it wasn't for him. CM Punk wouldn't be in the main event at WrestleMania if it wasn't for him. He tells Chicago that they're good people for being CM Punk because he's from Chicago. Sorry, I didn't say that right. From Chicago. Reigns says it wasn't until Punk was introduced to Reigns that he became a WrestleMania main eventer. Even though Punk has battled a lot of legend and stars, Reigns calls out Punk to hear about this favor. Seth Rollins' music hits, and he makes his way out to the ring. Rollins gallivants around the ring and smacks Heyman's butt and addresses Chicago. Rollins says he wouldn't have missed this for the world. He says he doesn't know what the favor is, but he feels this favor will knock socks off. He tells Reigns that he lives in a different reality, and when he comes to actual reality, it kicks him in the ass. Rollins tells Reigns he is underestimating CM Punk, and that Punk doesn't go away if you ignore him. Rollins says now his reality is that he has to deal with Punk and Reigns at WrestleMania. Rollins says you either suffer and get left behind, or you adapt and control reality. Reigns says the reality is that Rollins is untrustworthy and is not a loyal person. Reigns says that the reality is that he made a promise to Heyman, and that's why Punk is the main event. Main event because he doesn't break his promises. Rollins says there is one thing missing here and waits for Punk. CM Punk's music hits and makes his way out to the ring. Punk tells Reigns, Heyman, and Rollins that this is about friendships and promises made and kept and loyalty. Punk tells Heyman that years ago Heyman was told to fire Punk and he didn't, and that Heyman predicted this. Um, he talks about Heyman having his back and he's going to force Reigns out of his comfort zone. And the favorite is that at WrestleMania, Paul Heyman will be in his corner and not Roman Reigns' corner. Reigns starts laughing and tells Punk that Heyman loves him and needs him. Reigns says even if he allowed that Heyman wouldn't go for this. Reigns asks Heyman to let Punk down easy with his response. Heyman doesn't respond, and Reigns looks at him in disbelief and asks Heyman if he's crying. Reigns tells him to wipe his tears and tell Punk no. Reigns tells Heyman Reigns tells Heyman he took Heyman in and made him relevant, and to tell Punk no. Heyman wipes his tears, and Reigns tells Heyman he gets one more opportunity and tell Punk no. Heyman says, "No, my tribal chief, I can't do that." Ron starts laughing, and Reigns walks Heyman to the corner, and Punk attacks Reigns from behind and hits GTS on Reigns. As Heyman cries on the apron, Rollins leaves and Punk celebrates in the ring. Alright, so yeah, and him and Seth Rollins kind of looked at each other for a couple seconds and stuff. So yeah, and CM Punk started celebrating all that stuff. So yeah. So anyways, yeah, it was a good show tonight, man. I enjoyed tonight. Tonight was very good for SmackDown and stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, but man, it was crazy. That last man standing match, man, it was kind of brutal and stuff. So yeah, that last segment too for tonight, and man, that was crazy too, man. So it's gonna be that triple threat match is gonna take the whole entire WrestleMania and stuff. So yeah, that's gonna steal the whole show WrestleMania this year and this month and stuff. So yeah, pretty good. So anyways, that was his first video. Hope you like it. If not, whatever and stuff. So so let's grab hit that button, leave a comment. If you guys want to leave a comment stuff, I don't care what you guys do. And that was it. I see you guys in the next video tomorrow night for AEW Collision. All right, laters.